All right, today we're going over Suzanne Cook's motions to hold Philip Kemp in jail. I don't see why these possibly made it through a court of law unless we have no courts of law. Let's get started. Okay, the mother, Little Miss X Kemp, pursuant to Tennessee RCIV PRO 65-07 TENN code ANN subsection 29-9-101, whatever that means, but I'm sure it's a good enough reason to come take your children away from you while you're camping. Okay, let's see. Mother has filed a police report. Father is erroneously asserting that the schedule to be followed is the summer schedule. Father's assertion is blatantly wrong in contravention of this court's order. It is blatantly wrong. Well, if it is blatantly wrong, please explain why Don Ash said this. See, Don Ash, the judicial officer sitting over this, says, hey, we told him once he did these 3 things that he has done, he gets his parenting time. So how is this an erroneous assertion? Explain it to me. I don't understand. I can see why Philip Kemp doesn't understand. Okay. Father has unilaterally decided to again violate this court's orders and to act to suit his own purposes against the best interest of the children. The father, who didn't erroneously have the children on his parenting time, actually had the children on his parenting time, and the only reason that the court sided with Miss Cook is because they wished to punish Kemp into submission. And you can tell by their own words. Okay? They're telling everybody exactly what they're doing. But taking your children camping during your parenting time, apparently the state and the officers who are fulfilling these orders and Little Miss X Kemp and most of society is anybody who's on the court side is saying that's not in the best interest of the children. Okay? Mother moves to hold father in criminal contempt or sentence him additionally to more time for this violation and to restrict his parenting time even further, including to remove all parenting time, But what does your parenting time really matter if she can just go down and erroneously swear out 3 warrants against you and the cops uphold it? I don't know. I just have no clue about that. Right down here, District Attorney's Office, pursuant to Tennessee Code, I don't know what their codes mean, for custodial interference if the court finds the same warranted by the law and the facts. And they issued those warrants without law and without facts on their side. Those are false claims. Mother seeks an order that the appropriate authorities be dispatched to retrieve the children and to transport father to a detention facility to serve all of his sentence for criminal contempt. Let's hear about some of those.
Yes. Was he found in Greene County by the Greene County officers? Yes. All right. And were they found approximately 10:15 to 30 in the evening? Yes. Did the officers ask you to follow them to the campsite? Yes. So that they could put the children in your car, correct? Yes. And while you were there, you did not get out of your vehicle, did you? No. The officers walked the children to your car, and they arrested Mr. Kemp, correct? No. Okay, correct. I drove around, and they told me to get out and to get the kids. Okay, so you followed the deputy's instructions? Yes. Okay. And ultimately, Mr. Kemp was arrested on 3 felony counts of custodial interference, wasn't he? Yes. Okay. And he had dropped off notes that were not in envelopes, correct? Correct. Right. And so the schools did not give those to the children and called you instead, right? Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about these notes that he dropped off at the school again. I know I went over it in the original video about True Law Explained. Here's her second supplement to emergency motion. Father's view of parenting and the best interest of the children is horribly skewed and destructive because of these notes that he dropped off. Okay? And because of these notes, mother seeks an order that father is restrained from contact or communicating with the children in any fashion until he has at minimum demonstrated he's going to be a slave to the court. It doesn't actually say that here, but that's the way I interpret it. You can see Suzanne Cook signed it. Here's the first one. Avery. Hey, buddy, just wanted to stop and say hey. I want you to know I'm extremely proud of you. You're a fine young man. Love, Dad. Lila. I wanted to eat lunch with you and say hey, and that I love you and that I'm proud of you. Love, Dad. Eli. Wanted to come by and eat with you, but it's not allowed. Just wanted to tell you I love you and I'm very proud of you. Love, Dad. These seem like really, really awful communications to have with children, and you should make them stop by law. And if you put up with it, it's going to happen to you too. If you're going to allow the state to administrate Kemp's right to be a man and a father and to raise his children and tell them that he loves them, then the state's going to do it to everybody. Because if they can administrate your property away from you, if they can administrate your offspring away from you, then they can administrate your property away from you. And they will. I can't believe that people put more emphasis on their property, on the things they have, than their children. To me, it blows my mind. Because I only have one, and that's the light of my world. I've given up almost everything I have to try to secure rights for his future, and I almost feel like I've done all of it in futile. Because we can't get enough people to care about each other. These are the court documents. This is what's really going on.
This court-ordered parenting time, the boys are the oldest and little one, Avery and Eli, went with their father on Saturday. Lila ended up staying home with me because she got sick on the way there. When I picked Avery and Eli back up Saturday at 5, they started telling me that, we get to see Dad more. It's our summertime visits now, and so we'll be with him till Friday. And I said, did he discuss that with you? They said yes. And I said, well, I need to talk to Dad and we need to figure this out because that's what it seemed like it's true.
Okay, the reason that I just threw that in there is because they talk about he's got to refrain from talking about litigation with the children. That is the only place that I have seen where he has talked about litigation with the children at all. He said, hey, buddies, I'm going to have you for my parenting time over the summer, and we're going camping. Ugh. How horrible. Nobody allow that. You see how slippery of a slope it is? Because I'm not sitting here saying that there aren't any families that have problems so bad that they can't use some outside help from society. Lord knows I know there are. Okay? This is absurd. This is where it gets to when you allow the administrative state to take over. Harvard professors have written books about it. It's no secret to the people in the legal community, but of course, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Where they say to you, like, this is your fault, you're a liar. When I picked them up from the campground, they got in the car and they were upset, which is understandable, and they started telling me, like, you're a liar, you got arrested, you did this is all your fault. And because of the half-truths he tells the kids, and because of the things he shares with the kids, he is manipulating their emotions, their well-being, and giving them information that they don't need to know about. And in response to what we filed, he has not filed.
Okay, let me tell you something, little Miss X Kemp. I don't know if your attorney has explained it to you, but when you seek to have the authorities dispatch and arrest the father and throw him into jail, yes, it is your fault. Hello? Alright, sorry about that. Yes, little Miss X Kemp, it is your fault when you request the courts to go, because they wouldn't move without you asking them to do something, and the only reason they're moving is because there is no separation of powers anymore, and the judiciary is just following the legislative branch's orders, mainly to keep everybody confused so they don't know what's going on and what true law is anymore, because they can't find it on their heart, because they're being told that the legislature are the only gods who can create law. Anyways, she's going to talk about, do you ever answer our motions? Do you ever answer our filings? And then you're going to hear him answer it. And let's just listen.
In response to any motion for current hearing, correct? That's not. The only thing he's attempted to file was whatever that was he was reading it earlier before the start of this hearing, right? Yes.
Whatever that was earlier, that he performed earlier, hey, Suzanne Cook, it's called a declaration, and if you don't know what a declaration is in law, when it's verified, you really shouldn't be an attorney. You really should be disqualified from being an attorney. If you're just thinking a declaration is whatever that is. Here's the declaration.
I am man, Philip Aaron Kemp, who say and state under penalty of perjury, I, hereby Phil, am present at court in the form of man, who appear in court of law, not state. I do not understand Suzanne Cook documents concerning money, something about jail time. I understand Suzanne Cooks wants to take offspring of I because I take them camping and I send them love notes at their school. That's kind of what I comprehend. I will state that Don Ash verified at last court appearance that I caused no harm and tried to convince I that I harm myself, when in fact it is the people interacting with I who cause true and verifiable harm to I with no cause. I affirm there is continued harm, injury, and loss done by third-party interlopers to I. Hence, incarceration of certain dates, April 28th, May 5th, March 13th, June 1st of 2021. Now, I did pay the extortion and ransom monies to get out of the lockbox in excess of $7,500. Don Ash never verified his orders are true and lawful orders, and orders that are not true and lawful are trespass on my right. If any man or woman who participate in the execution of unlawful orders become trespassers in law, persons by the very action of inaction. I have no intent to be contemptuous. There is no controversy, for I am willing to set law matter of law as soon as one appears outside my verified statements. I have sacred trust with Yahweh, the God Almighty, sovereign over all things, to raise offspring in admonition of the Lord. I wish no man or woman to trespass upon sacred trust. I require Suzanne Cook bond be attached to record so I may execute after damage are calculated and verify. Need this placed upon the record.
Which it was placed upon the record. Fabulous.
Regarding the kids, and in my opinion, he uses our children as pawns to get back at me, to control. He refers to them as offspring, as a physical thing that he controls and owns, and that's not how it is. You've heard him in this courtroom. Essentially, he hasn't said the word sovereign citizen, but he's done everything other than say that phrase, correct? Yes. He's told this court that it has no authority over them, right? He said that you have no authority over them, right? Did you watch him in the courtroom before the judge took the bench telling me that I have no authority and telling me to be quiet? He does not. Shut up. He does not respect boundaries, never has. He does not respect rules, whether a judge has written those rules or someone has not asked him nicely.
Here's what I don't get. If he didn't respect boundaries and rules, how did that man make it through the military? How did he make it as a soldier? You don't respect boundaries and rules, they're going to yank your butt out of there so fast it's not even funny. Because they can't have you not respecting boundaries and rules in the middle of a war zone. He just doesn't wish to be a slave. They're accusing him of wishing to take the children and acting like the children are property. She's the one moving to remove all of his parenting time. Treating the children like they're some possession that the state can just decide what happens to them. Like they're property of the state. She's the one doing that. Everything she's accusing him of, she's the one doing that. And it's clear as day to anybody who's looking. Let's look at this last motion to reconsider. This is the one that got him locked up for Father's Day again. Let's look at some of this. Here's their main concern right here, is that on June 4th, immediately after the June 4, 2021 hearing from which he was incarcerated, posted the entire hearing, both video and audio, on Facebook, and by providing it to a YouTube channel called Just Conspiracy, hosted by Jonathan Cross, in parentheses, JC. Thereafter, on a regular basis since June 4, 2021, Mr. Kemp calls the YouTube host from jail, permits his calls to be posted on the YouTube, and discusses this litigation, the court, the judge, the mother, and the mother's counsel. Additionally, Mr. Kemp has shared similar information to be posted by a person on Facebook known as Sean Mann. Here's where it's gotten. They are punishing him because we're trying to tell y'all the truth. Because we're trying to say, come on, people, let's have a heart, let's have a conscience. And this is the last chance that we have before all of these proceedings become star chambers. Because if nobody cares to show up for Kemp on the 30th, then they're going to know nobody cares. And it's not just me and Sean Mann who are talked about. She makes a CD of my videos to attach as an exhibit. Hours long, because it takes hours and hours to try to explain law to people. They went to law school. They had years and years to learn about law, and somehow they only learned about administration. I don't know how that works out. Okay? But it's so far gone, it's so far lawless, for me to break down most of the very main points in law that people will understand right off the top of their head, because most of us have been explaining these main points since we were elementary school, but that's not how the real world works. It still takes hours, because that's how lawless they are. Mr. Kemp explicitly acknowledges that he has a choice to do what the court has said, so that he can parent his children or to keep fighting the good fight. He has placed the videos and his phone calls and copies of pleadings into the hands of third parties, who then posted and published them. Well, let me tell you something, little Miss Suzanne Cook. A lot of those pleadings we got down at the courthouse. You want to know why? Because they're open record. That's why. If you're reading this closely, what they're trying to say is, for the better of society, we got to close courts. We got to close courts. And best believe they're coming after me and Sean Mann first. Here you can see the pleadings, and of course, that were signed. And of course, they asked for the court to hold Kemp into submission. Kemp didn't submit, so they decided to throw him back in jail, not allow him to have his Father's Day and be there for his firstborn son's birthday. Think about that. She was like, he's done everything except say that he's a sovereign citizen. Yeah, because he's not a sovereign citizen. What they're telling you right now is that if you are a man or a woman and you believe that you have rights and you believe that the court has to have some type of harm, injury, or loss to obtain jurisdiction over you, somebody has to have suffered some type of harm, injury, and loss to obtain jurisdiction over you, and you don't believe that people can just drag you into court on false allegations, have a judicial officer sign a piece of paper, and then them just be able to rob you legally, if you don't believe that that's correct in law, then you are a domestic terrorist and they are coming for you. That's what I just read. Whatever you're trying to hold on to, whatever you're trying to keep, we don't get Kemp out on the 30th, it's gone anyways. It's gone. Because the government's going to realize that they can just administrate all of your property away from you. I'm surprised they haven't realized it already with some of the comments and things I see people talk about. Alright, I didn't print these up because I just took photos of them. You know, Kemp gave me permission to open all of his mail. And I just wish to point out Adam Edmonds. They're targeting you. They have highlighted your name. Alicia Price, Jason Ramirez, Anthony Conte, I guess. Mike Simmons, you actually get pointed out a whole lot. So some of these names kind of go over and over again. Andrew Stone is another one. Andrew Stone, Mike Simmons, Jason Remenez. Anybody who posted anything on Philip Kemp's Facebook that has any dissent against the court and what the court is doing, they are highlighting you along with me and Sean Mann, Jeffrey Bond, everybody who Margaret Kemp from Thailand talking about it going international, getting international attention. They highlight how many comments it has, how many shares, how many views, and that it's in the courthouse lobby. I've been talking about how we, the people, the government has been waging war against us. Right now they're making a list. They're going to start coming for us. And I don't care. I'm going to be one of the first ones. And the reason I don't care so much is because if we let them get away with this, I really don't wish to live in the America that this country's about to become. I love the place I live. I dislike the people in charge. It's really just that simple. But it's really up to us. You know, we don't have to allow them to be in charge. We don't have to allow them to be in charge. It's up to you. I've done everything I can. I've done everything I can. I'm going to continue doing it until they put a bullet in my head. But I just wish for everybody you know who's watching this or commenting on it or who has ever posted a negative comment about the court or the government or any of that stuff on Facebook, it'll probably be in your best interest to show up. Because if we can't pull this off and we can't get people to care about one another, they're making a list and you're on it. It's that simple. So we better get this conspiracy off the ground and off the internet. Or I hope that you are really comfortable with your God because you might be meeting him pretty soon. One world love and peace.
But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.